What do you do in the clubhouse? Because I've never lost a game seven, only won them. So when you go into the clubhouse in '03 and you've just been walked off and your season ends and you felt that it may have been magical. Don't forget back then the Red Sox had not won a ring. This was not you. This was still the beginning of what became a very successful run by John Henry and the Red Sox. What's going on in that clubhouse right after game seven?
Tears. You got grown men crying. You got dads. You got dudes. And I'll tell you this, Dave, is that game was unbelievable. Mario Rivera, I mean, he could have thrown probably 20 innings and we probably wouldn't have got a ball in the infield. He was on fire that night. And so we go out there, I think it was 11th or 12th inning, whatever it was. And I was throwing the ball, around at first base and boom, and here we are. And I throw it into Papa Jack, who Ron Jackson was our hitting coach. So you kind of one hop them and then they catch it over there in third base. And I looked over and I was trying to tell Trot next. I'm like, all right, we got two down now, or nobody out now. Start of the inning. And it was like, it happened so quick. And I was just with Aaron Boone a couple weeks ago on Father's Day. They were playing the Yankee Sox, and we were up there. And I introduced Booney to my two boys. I got one Cash playing junior college and Canyon's playing, just finished a senior in high school, but they're baseball players. My point is this, I know, that's how old we are. That's why I'm still putting mascara
I
on
knew
my
them when they were this big.
handlebars. Yeah, dude, it's crazy, right? It's like, it is crazy. So I told Booney, I said, Cash is a big Red Sox fan, of course, the boys now. I was like, this is the dude. This is the dude. When your dad said, nobody out, Trot, and I just turned around, I was like, it was over. You walk off that field, there's 67,000 people. The stadium was rocking. It was like
Did you watch the ball land, or did you turn around and walk toward the dugout
you
before it
watched the
landed?
ball land. No, you watched it because I'm first base, and then it's over. It happens like that. You are intense. You're pouring sweat. Our games were 4 hours, 4:20. You got Bernie Williams, Bassaz stepping out, and everybody, Pedro throwing at heads, and Clemens. The series, as you guys know, that was the greatest series rivalry at that time. And probably, I mean, for sure, my generation, you won't find one like that. But it was crazy because it's over that quick. And Boone hadn't gotten a ball to the infield. He hadn't been swinging the bat well at all. He pitches and hit the first pitch knuckleball off Tim Wakefield, rest his soul. But think about that. It was over. So you walked off, and that's what happens, man. You get in there, and it's like life. If you don't go through tough times, they're not personal. Tough times tough times don't last. Tough people do, that old statement. But there is something to it. You build off those tough times, and we did.
I don't think that you thought, though, when that season ended, that you'd be right back against the Yankees the next year in an '03 hole, because that's a whole different sort of scenario that took place, which is not only does the team rebound from that brutal LCS loss, but '04, you are sort of spinning a story that would turn out to be one of the great stories of my lifetime and in baseball history. And the only time ever where a team comes back from '03, I want to explain to the audience, no one comes back from down '03 in a series. It simply does not happen. You are an interesting leader in that you have a way about you, Kevin, always when I had you and since, and even in your media career, that you have a way to disarm a moment. And you have a way to compartmentalize a project, which is to say, you're not thinking about game seven during game four. You're making sure your teammates are thinking about game four and game four, and not winning 4 games, winning 1 game. You were the one I went to down 4 runs. I can't get a grand slam with no one on. And you were always aware, I got to get on base. It's not my job to hit the home run right now. What were you doing down '03?
Yeah, we got beat really bad, too. It wasn't like it was a close game. We lost 3-1. Like, they smashed us. It was like 16-9. My dad will never forget it. He said, hey, man, I just want to let you know. And then we're walking out. We're down 0-3 in a 7-game series to that team. There's a Yankees team. There's that team. 1 through 9, that team. I mean, Matsui was the best hitter on that team. You had A-Rod, you had Jeter, you had Giambi, you had Posada, Bernie Williams. They were the greatest offensive club. Like, that's why I tell you, when Beckett, what he did in '03 to that team, it wasn't like facing this Yankee team. If Josh Beckett went down and, this team today and that team back then, there's 2 different ball games. So that team, so to that team, it did make sense to the world, right? So, and we got crushed. And my dad goes, well, I think Matsui and Sheffield all had 4 hits the night before, hitting balls off the monster. A-Rod's going deep. He thinks the series is over after 3 games. And he goes, I hope the only saving grace, maybe they have blisters. They can't come back the next day. And I looked at my dad. I'm like, what? Yeah, I mean, they had like 8 hits. They were 8 for, 8 for 10 and, 4 homers. But I was just like, when he said that, I was like, yeah, you know what? This is it. And it doesn't make sense. But being that, I don't know if that is because I was undrafted. Nobody believes in it. And I'm just a dreamer because I really am. I mean, I always, as a kid, I'm playing the big leagues. I'm playing the big leagues. What are you going to do when you don't work out? I'm going to play in the big leagues. Well, what are you going to do on your fallback thing? I mean, nobody plays in the major leagues. I know everybody. I'm going to play in the big leagues. So I'm like Rain Man on dreaming. And that was it. I'm like, Dad, just watch. I don't know how it's going to happen. I really don't. Game 4.
Wait, you called it before game 4, you called that you would win 4 in a row.
So I woke up the next day now the morning of game 4, there's an article in the Boston Globe by Dan Chauncey, and it's a pack of frauds. I'm reading this article, the word frauds. And you've said stuff to kind of irritate dudes. I say stuff that when you hear a word, they might be better than us, but the word fraud, that got me. So I'm over here taking a number 2 on the toilet back when you used to read the paper and not stare at our cell phones and devices.
And magazines.
You're darn right. There's some great magazines in the boys' bathroom in the clubhouses. Cheers to those. Those are lost art.
Lost art.
And I'm reading this. I'm like, did he?
Kevin, we had a subscription line in our budget. There's a subscription line for magazines in the clubhouse.
Some was Dubs, which was rims and tires. Because I'll tell you right now, we were the league minimum on salary. We had the highest cars. You would have thought we were the highest paid team. You had Lexus rims, 40-inch rims. We had Mercedes, Alice Gonzalez. But anyways, we're sitting there reading the paper and fraud. So that's a fraud? That's when I got pissed off. And I went in the clubhouse that day. And without that, I still tell Dan Chauncey, I go, dude, maybe without your little snarky comments in the papers, we don't win. But I'll tell you what we did. It pissed me off. I get there at 12:30, so I'm starting yipping and yapping. Now it's time. When they walk in, because now you're in my house. You guys are all uncomfortable walking into our clubhouse because that's where we're naked. We're getting dressed. We got music. We're talking stuff. You got racist comments flying around in corporate America, but it's brotherly love in that clubhouse. So there's stuff that people are like, whoa, oh my God. So there's an uncomfortable feeling to the media. But when they do their job, they're not uncomfortable writing massive hurtful word stories. So now it's time, right? So Dan Chauncey had this red perm. He comes walking in, and that was the first thing that came to my mind. I don't know where it came. I was like, your hair sucks, Dan. And all these media guys shuffling, they're kind of looking like, what? Your hair sucks. And all of a sudden it was kind of like weird, right? I said, frauds? We're packed frauds? David Ortiz a fraud, Pedro Martinez fraud, Trot Nixon, Bill Miller's a fraud, Johnny Damon's a fraud, Jason Veritek's a fraud, captain. It's like calling Derek Jeter a fraud, right? So at that point, they might be better than us. That's fine. But we're not frauds, right? If you can't bench press 250, doesn't mean you're a fraud. If this guy...
Hell yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I go off, well, guess what? Poppy's like, yeah, bro, whatever Millar says. So now instead of this poor us, we're down 0-3. People are start picking up their boxes and taping it up because the season's over. No, dude, we create this pissed off, yeah, let's go, pimp. And then it became the boomstick mic down below. Why are you so hard on me? Now it was on tape, and it happened exactly. I go, man, I have no idea we're going to win this game. Derek Lowe versus the Yankees. Terrible matchup for us. We have no idea. Derek doesn't know how we're going to win. But don't let us win tonight, because if we do, we got Pedro game 5, Schilling game 6, and anything can happen game 7. And that was the way it was truly designed, organically, developedly. It was the word fraud, and by Dan Chauncey, and we still laugh about today.
But everybody, when they're down 3-0 or 3-1, has the same roadmap. Just get me 1. I'll figure out a way to get a second. Then game 6, the pressure's on them, and then win that game 7. Anything can happen, except you guys are the only one who ever did it.
We had Hall of Fame dudes in game 5 or 6. So Schilling and Pedro are probably 2 of the best big game pitchers in the history. So it's not like, let us win 1 because then we have Millar and Samson starting game 5 and 6. That wasn't the way it was. That we had Pedro and Schilling. If we can get to those games, that was my true thought. Because game 7, it was almost like we had to close one eye. It was done. I mean, the Yankees.
So you're going against Kevin Brown, and you're saying, you know what, we got this, because The offense in game 7, as I would recall,
Yeah.
you guys put up like 4 or 5 runs in the first inning or the first 2 innings.
Johnny Damon hit a couple homers. I mean, Poppy went deep. By that time, they are crushed. They are
Yeah, but
crushed. They are crushed. You know, the momentum in sports, to me, to this day, it fascinates me. The NBA, you're up by 20. I was at the Celtics game 1 with the Knicks. I'm sitting there at a buddy of mine, had awesome seats. I'm like, watching this. Celtics are up 25 and they lose game 1 at home to the New York Knicks. I'm like, it is fascinating, the runs and the momentum swings. And baseball's the same. You know, you start seeing this little, they're tighter and tighter because we have nothing to lose. It's like Tommy Fleetwood trying to win a major, right? Keegan Bradley's just bombing 3 woods and you're trying to hold on to the lead. Sometimes it's harder to hold on to the lead than just balls to the wall.
don't ever play scared. Don't
Never,
ever play scared.
never be afraid to fail.